Thank you very much for the opportunity to from DH Ignite and Cellular for not only me, but also my colleagues to have an opportunity to talk to you. You will see that the whole session, well, for the next 3 speakers at least, will be dedicated to NICIS. You will see there at the top right, NICIS. Now, before I start, let me ask a question. I wasn't here the day before. I only listened what was said this morning, and I heard a few terms already that resonates very well with me. I mean, I heard of something about computing, processing, data. I heard the word data quite a lot. I have not heard networking or network so much yet. But can I just ask, has anybody in the audience heard about NICIS? Do you know what NICIS is? And before you answer, it's nothing to do with national intelligence or crime and investigation. So if it is not that, so if you see NICIS, I mean, anybody, do you know what NICIS? Have you seen at least the acronym before?
Show of hands, let's see.
Have you
seen NICIS?
I see even my colleagues are not putting up their hands. So. Yeah, so there's a few. I mean, maybe let me just. I mean, it's a long word. It stands for National Integrated Cyber Infrastructure System. So it is horrendous. I think the whole definition. But if you remember the cyber infrastructure component of this, so if you see NICIS again, think about cyber infrastructure, and those are, say, infrastructure that you can use to do research, digital research. And when we talk about NICIS, we typically think of 3 things. We think about computing, so processing. We think about data and the things associated with it, data, storage of data, curation of data. And the third thing is we think about network. So that is connectivity, the bandwidth, how fast can you transfer your data? So those are the 3 things: computing, data, and networking. And this is what we are going to talk to you about this morning, because South Africa has got resources and infrastructure to support the research community for this. It's already in existence for many years. It supports many researchers already. And I think from the few hands I see, I think there's maybe lots in this audience that does not know that, well, firstly, you are already using it. You don't know that you are already using some of it. You will hear about it this morning. But certainly there's many aspects of this that you simply did not know exist. And you actually have access to it mostly for free, and that you can simply benefit from. So my focus is on that first of the 3, the computing part. My colleagues will talk about the data and the network, but I will talk about computing. And that's why the Center for High Performance Computing is the focus of my talk. So maybe a next question. Who of you know that South Africa has got a supercomputer? I see 3, 4 hands. So maybe just answer it. So can I maybe assume that the rest just thought that is not something that will ever be present in South Africa, a supercomputer? Maybe I must ask, do we know what a supercomputer is? You don't know. So a supercomputer, and I don't have a slide for it, but if you ever run into an issue where, say, your laptop or your computer is processing data, but it's happening so slowly that is your rate determining step. You actually have to wait for something to process before you can get a result. You need access to, let's call it, a higher level of compute, something that can compute much faster, something that can compute in a higher performance of computing. And that is what supercomputers are typically used for. And I want to maybe say, if you didn't know South Africa has a supercomputing facility, I can tell you that South Africa does have it. And it's been in existence already, now counting for about 18 years. We do have a national supercomputing facility. It's called the Center for High Performance Computing. And it's got state-of-the-art facilities where any researcher that needs access to compute, whether it is small or large, but of course, specifically for people having large computing needs, can access. And it is funded by the Department of Science and Innovation. It's a public facility. It is something that's already in existence. It's essentially free to access by any researchers. And I think it's maybe the opportunity is good to talk about this. And I will just run through a few slides. And I don't want to take up too much time with the slides. So maybe I will not talk about everything on the slide, but just to grab the attention maybe, and then we can have discussions later. So I will just give you a bit of an overview, introduction, background, what infrastructure we have, and our users and the usage, and also the training opportunities that we do have. And then lastly, I think the most important part, the practical access to this computing resource. So the CHPC, and you will see this slide at least 3 times today in different forms. And this is what I've been talking about. NICIS, NICIS, consists of the 3 legs, the computing services, the networking services, the data services. Computing services is CHPC, the Center for High Performance Computing. The data services is the RISA, the Data Intensive Research Initiative for South Africa. And then the networking service is South African National Research Network. So I will focus on the CHPC. So the National Center for High Performance Computing is South Africa's supercomputing facility. There is only one supercomputing facility in the country, and this is the CHPC. It's got a 1 petaflop system of 1 petaflop machine. You don't want to get bothered by terminology. Just know that this is a very fast computer. When it was launched a few years ago. It was number 127 on the top 500 list of supercomputers in the world. So if you were wondering whether this is state of the art, I think it is important to realize that when this computer was launched, it was the only computer in the African continent on the top 500 list. There was nothing else. So it really is a state of the art resource for South Africa. And not only for South Africa, you will see at the graph at the bottom, it actually serves the need of the region. There's lots of countries in the SADC region that also benefits from this. And this is all to do with the government and the DSI's bilateral agreements with these countries to also benefit from these facilities. So what is the CHPC? It's a national high-performance computing facility funded by the DSI, hosted within NICIS, and it is administered through the CSIR. So the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research is the entity that hosts NICIS. It already started operations in June 2007. So that's why I say it's going for many years. The CHPC specifically has around 35 employees that's supporting the needs of researchers. And it's got the research technical operational divisions. And I'm managing the research component. So it's this one, the CHPC is actually hosted in Cape Town. The other components of NICIS are all in Pretoria. But this is in Cape Town, so if you ever want to come and visit and see the National Supercomputing Facility, please come around at our offices in Rosebank in Cape Town. So what is our mandate? It is to enable and accelerate research through the access to high-performance computing. So if you are bogged down or you simply don't have access to compute resources to do tasks or processing tasks, this is the place for you. We do this by provisioning. And if I say, to who do we provision it, and I give 3 bullets there, I can actually say, I can just summarize those 3 bullets. We provide it to everybody. With everybody, I mean anybody that's interested in research, whether you're from the academic community, whether you're from, say, a public sector entity that does research, many research councils, whether you're from African partner countries, from the SKA, the Square Kilometre Array Project, those countries that are partners in that, they benefit from it. The whole SADC region benefits from it. And then also the private sector. Even the private sector can have access to this. For all the entities I mentioned, except the private sector, access is actually free. The private sector does pay a cost recovery fee, so it's not for profit for the CHPC, but this is how we provision it. And this enabling, how do we enable this, is that we do first, of course, give researchers access to this infrastructure. You can get a login, you can get your codes to run, you can execute what you want to do. But then we take it the next level. We also do code and software support. So we have dedicated people employed at the CHPC for research domain area support. And then very much focused also on training and education initiatives, which I will say something more. So what is this compute infrastructure? And I just show it here. This cluster was actually launched a few years ago already, so it's getting a bit old now, but still state of the art and heavily utilized. The second phase, March 2017. And there I just mentioned where it was positioned in the top 500. This is South Africa's petascale, the 1 petaflop compute system. It consists of a number of racks, actually 24 compute racks that are all connected together. It's got a name. Any respectable supercomputer in the world's got a name. And this one is called Lengau. And for those of you that, I cannot speak Setswana, but for you that can, it refers to cheetah. And I think it's a very good name because it refers not only to fast, but it refers to the fastest. And this is certainly the fastest supercomputer that we have in the country. So if you ever see the cheetah or Lengau, you can think about South Africa's national supercomputing facility. This is just a table showing a few details. You can go and look at this in your own time. But we also have other systems. We have dedicated graphical processor unit cluster, the GPU cluster. It consists of 13 NVIDIA V100. So GPUs are, of course, the infrastructure these days that are very much dedicated for machine learning and AI type applications. So we have a dedicated cluster, modest in size at the CHPC, but if you have training of models to do, this is the place where you can probably come and check whether we cannot assist you. We also have our own on-site, local cloud facility, which we call SBOA. Now this cloud is available for any researcher in South Africa where you need access to compute resource, where you need to set up, say, your own environment, where you have to dedicate your own, say, space for applications and research work. So please come and talk to us. Still, this is modest in size, but we are likely to be able to provide you with resources in a cloud environment if you need as well. So now some new and recent, say, resources that will come to CHPC and NICIS. I'm not going to say much about the first two. This is DERISA, this is storage. I'm just mentioning it from a CHPC context because the message is that if you want to make use of computing resources, you need a place to put your data. And this is where DERISA comes in. It helps you to manage that data. And that's why we mentioned, so if you want to come and use the CHPC, your data will have a place to be staged and launched from. We also are looking to expand our NICIS cloud infrastructure that's already in deployment. This is also in the DERISA space. And then I think very exciting is that we also have our next generation HPC or supercomputer system coming. This one is currently 8 years old. Time for it to be upgraded. And you are the first audience I'm actually talking to where this is officially been confirmed now that we will get our next system. It will be 4 times larger than the one we currently have, and we're looking at commissioning this around August 2024. So we should have significantly more computing power coming before the end of this year. And then we're also looking to expand our GPU resources. This is the kind of resources where researchers are really asking for, mostly for the machine learning and AI type application space. And then I also just mentioned some infrastructure support like electricity and cooling facilities that we need. So who are the users? And I think this is why I appreciate, and I think all of us from NICIS appreciate this opportunity to talk to you as a user community, because typically our users are the scientists and the engineers. So this is not the people from the humanities or the social sciences. And yes, maybe it makes sense that traditionally these are the type of users that need access to compute, or at least in the past may have needed it more. But we really recognize that in the social sciences, access to state-of-the-art cyber infrastructure to facilitate and accelerate your research is definitely something that is needed. So I'm just showing this a bit about what is the current and past usage of the system. Of course, mostly focusing on science and engineering, but hopefully giving you a picture. So you can see there, I just put in the block the all-time usage of this supercomputing facility that we have since it was launched in the first phase in 2016. You can see the number of research programs, 579. So a research program is typically, say, a professor at the university with a research group needing access to the facility. Total number of hours used, the total number of users that has benefited from it, active users. So there's a picture. Then I'm also showing this graph I like to show because the blue graph shows over the years how many compute hours have been used on the system. You see it goes through a maximum. And this is typical of an HPC system. When it is new, there are still not that many users. Then it picks up over the years, and then it starts to drop off a bit because the cluster is not necessarily, it becomes older. Not all the compute nodes are available, but we were also impacted quite heavily by load shedding. We could not always keep the whole cluster up, which has been resolved now. But the important part is the orange bars, and these are the number of active research programs on the system, and it's ever increasing. And this is not even adding the social sciences to this. So you can see that there's an ever-increasing demand for access to this resource. So the next few graphs, I'm not going to stand still too much, but these are showing you just who are the users. So if you look at the active programs there, the South African academic community. This is where most research is done. So makes sense that they have the largest chunk of active programs on it, but also the South African public institutions and also our African partner countries and even the private sector is benefiting. So I always show the left graph is the number of active programs and the one on the right is the number of actual hours that these users use. So you can go and have a look at it. If we look at, this is a very busy slide, and I don't want you to read all of it. All I'm doing is showing you all the universities in South Africa that has access and making use of this facility. They do have active research programs. And you can see almost all 26 of the institutions are represented there in some way in terms of number of programs and also in terms of hours being used. And seeing that this event is focused on the northern region, I just went and I checked on the University of Venda and the University of Limpopo, and I think the other one is University of Mpumalanga. Those are the three universities. Two of them are well represented already. You will see the University of Venda is about 3% of all research programs, University of Venda, 2% University of Limpopo. This is just the number of programs on the system. When we actually go to the hours being used, to me this is significant. It is 14% of all hours is used by the University of Limpopo already. And these are all kinds of different research domains. Unfortunately, not social sciences, but it is bioinformatics, chemistry, a lot of material science, earth sciences, and the same kind of research domains in the University of Venda. If you add those two numbers together, you're almost at 20%. So almost 20% of this facility is already used by universities in this region. So if you are looking maybe for experiences, maybe there's some of your colleagues at your own institution that's already actively using this that can, maybe they're in a completely different domain, yes, but that can assist you with understanding what the benefits of access to this is. And then this last one is just a bit of a breakdown of the different domains. Yes, it's all science and engineering type disciplines, but again, it is a spread. It's not only one discipline that is benefiting from this domain. So I'm ending off. I just want to say something about training and development. Part of our mandate from the DSI is to also train users on how to access and use this facility. We have a number of training events. We have annual events, what we call our introductory programming school or our summer school. This is focused on basic Linux and Python for users. And this is not only for a specific domain. This is any person that wants to use and access these compute resources can gain from this training. We also have a winter school in parallel programming where we take it to the next level to say, well, what is the difference between programming, say, in serial on a laptop or so versus a supercomputer where you actually have to parallelize your code over many, many different compute cores. And then we also have a number of other projects that I don't have time to talk about, unfortunately, but HPC Ecosystems Project. This is distributing HPC resources to the whole, well, other places in the country and the whole Southern African region. We have our student cluster competition where undergraduate students learn how to build supercomputers and so on. Maybe I can just highlight, we also have our CHPC National Conference, always towards the beginning of December each year. If you want to learn more about what the CHPC is doing, this is something that you can surely consider attending. So this is my last slide. This is just to say, well, there is a slide. All of you will get these slides. If you want to know about practical access to the CHPC, very, very easy application processes. If you want to just make contact, my details are there. If you want to talk about what this can possibly do for your environment, whether you have big or small needs, please make sure to talk to us.